Hello, I am Rob.
And I'm Angie.
And together, we are
TwinFinity. We are twin flames in union who have been called to share our 20-year journey through a series of videos. This is now, I think, video number 6 that we're on. And in this video, we're going to be sharing a little bit more about our journey. We are, at this point, about a month into our meeting of each other. We met July 25th, and this is in 1997, by the way. And this is now where we're sharing at is in kind of the end of August, so about a month into our story.
As a recap from our previous video, Angie had started to have a little bit of push-pull, a little bit of running that was starting to happen from the connection. She was feeling a little bit vulnerable, a little overwhelmed, a little bit overstimulated.
Yes.
And of course, me being me, I came back with all the kindness I could. I chased with nurturing. And with that, because Angie wasn't getting any breaks from me at all, she started a pattern of sometimes being a little bit mean, just to try to get some distance from us.
Yes. So there was a bit of runner-chaser stuff going on already, not even a month after meeting each other. Before we get into this video, we wanted to just explain where we are. We try and do most of our videos outside just because we connect well with nature and the mountains, and we can't be out in the mountains today, so we are where?
We are just on the edge of our backyard, actually. We've got a very steep backyard going uphill, and therefore we're up on some rocks there with a little bit of, well, we're trying to see our mountains in the background, but there's a bit of a weather system back there, so I don't know if you can see anything. There's mountains in behind those clouds.
Yes.
And a few roof peaks that are actually ours.
Yes.
So we're
it's our house back there.
We're looking over top of the neighborhood. Okay.
So you wanted to explain a little bit about this video before we get into it.
Yeah, with this video, we are attempting to bridge a little bit of a gap, and also we're looking to keep it just a little bit lighthearted by developing a little bit of our character. People are starting to get to know us, but there's some things about us that in the future are really important that we haven't had a chance to really discuss yet. So this video is going to have some stories about us during the next few weeks of this relationship.
Yes, from when we first met. So I'm going to start where we kind of left off was me doing some running and stuff, and things were back on track. We were still doing okay. If you remember from one of our very beginning videos, we were talking about that Rob was going whitewater rafting, and I had mentioned I had already booked a whitewater rafting trip before we met. So we're at the point of the story where I'm going on my whitewater rafting trip, and we're not going to be seeing each other for almost 2 weeks. So we're kind of creating a little bit of a special night for ourselves to, just say goodbye before we have 2 weeks apart. So I go up to Rob's apartment, and I'm just going to read a bit from my journal. And again, this is late August of 1997. You were going to say something?
No.
Okay. I wrote, I went up to Rob's, and he put the CD on, and we talked and talked because I loved the CD, and every song hit me so deep, even though I'd only heard 2 of the songs before.
Now, this CD, I'm actually a little bit of a stereophile. I like to have my big equipment and big speakers, and I listen to basically mainstream music. I'll be very honest about that. I have a little bit of everything, but one of my favorite sappy, folky kind of artists is Dan Fogelberg. And this particular night was the night I put on Dan Fogelberg because he's got lots of sappy songs, and I like those songs. And Angie, I figured she'd know 1 or 2 of them, which she mentioned she did.
Yeah.
And it was just a very special music introduction night for me.
And what was neat is this CD is a greatest hits album, and it just touched me so deep. Yeah, let's
that
show
one, Dan Fogelberg.
We actually wanted to bring this out because what's really cool is, of course, now we both have this CD.
Yeah.
So we actually have 2 of them. But I had to go dig through the house and find Rob's because, sentimental me, I wanted the CD that he played for me 20 years ago.
The original.
That's the one. So why we're sharing this is because some of these songs were very important in our journey even many years later. So I wanted to share a few of them. One was called Missing You, and of course that one, title says it all. That one becomes very appropriate many years later. I would drive and cry to that song a lot, thinking of Rob many years later. So there's another one called Longer, and that one just really hit so deep. It was the first time I think I'd ever heard that the night that Rob played it. And why I love that one is it's comparing all these things in nature, which again we connect so well with, to your relationship. You know, like longer than there's been stars in the sky, I've been in love with you. Longer than there's been fish in the ocean. And it just, even though, again, we didn't know we were twin flames at that point, we just had this deep bond after only a month together. So these songs just resonated and touched my soul so deep. Another one that really touched both of us was called Old Lang Syne. And beautiful song about this couple that have broken up. Many years later, they meet in the grocery store of all places, and they just reconnect for a bit and talk and share about their lives, and you can tell they still love each other. And we didn't know that was going to be our future, but it's funny how that song touched both of us. I mean, there was times we would just sit and cry listening to that song.
It's one of those songs that if you're a tall sappy, it'll bring a tear to your eye.
Yep.
A few of you who probably know that song would know what we're talking about.
Yes, and if you don't, well, check it out. You might resonate. So anyway, that's why I wanted to bring up Dan Fogelberg, because he comes up later. So that's the night Rob plays me the CD, and then we're having our kind of last night together before going to be apart for almost 2 weeks. So I'm sharing now about that night before we're going to be apart. And I wrote, so we get into bed, and Rob's in the mood to be intimate, but I'm not. He's kissing my back, and it felt great, but I was getting flashbacks. Nicole, and this again is inner child, Nicole and I had done some major conversing. She needed me to have Rob stop. Her and I argued for a bit, but I knew she was right, so I bravely told Rob the problem after some silence. He, as always, was fantastic. What a surprise. As we've shared in our last videos, I mean, he just supported me through everything. He understood the inner child. He was there to support me through all the sexual abuse stuff that I was going through. So, yeah, he was fantastic.
And you know, some of this has a lot to do with patience as well. I've had times in my life where I haven't been a very patient person, but it hasn't served me well. So this was another time where, as much as I didn't really realize it, I was practicing patience that would be important years later.
So I wrote, he was fantastic, totally understanding and loving. We spent a long time dealing with my feelings and fears and his concerns. He even talked with Nicole. I mean, can you imagine that? This guy is talking to my inner child.
Like, we'd be chatting away, and I would say, Ange, can I talk to Nicole for a couple of minutes? I just have something I want to say. And then Ange would give me permission, and I would just chat to Nicole as if she was laying right beside me. And that's about the only way I could approach it.
Yeah. And I just found it amazing. I mean, again, I hadn't had much relationships in the past, but I thought, nobody would ever have done this. Like, I don't know anybody who would be this loving, be this kind, and also be this understanding. Like, really? To talk to my inner child? Wow. So I wrote, I can't believe him. He loves me so much. We worked out a lot of issues. Rob went through a major growth phase, and I went through major emotions. And I wonder why I'm so exhausted. After we just snuggled and slept, hoping that I would be in the mood more in the morning. I really wanted to be able to, seeing as how this was our last night together for nearly 2 weeks. I wanted it to be special, and I was disappointed that my past decided to haunt me at that night. Yet I was also very proud of myself for dealing with it instead of pushing it away, especially being so honest with Rob. Wow, I really trust him. So it's amazing how much was going on there. You know, Rob talking to my inner child, me being honest about what was going on, and not just giving in and, not listening to myself. I was actually honoring myself. That was huge growth for all of us. And certainly not the night we had planned, considering, this was our last night for a while, seeing each other. Now let me find where the next little bit comes in. Oh yes, I wrote, who knew that me being honest that night would have paid off so well? We got our perfect last morning together instead of night. Then he was really feeling like my husband. amazingly enough, again, we'd only known each other for a month, but we were already starting to feel married. We had that depth of connection already. I wrote, then I went back to sleep after Rob left and I felt great. I slept great until his phone rang. I let the machine get it, even though I was pretty much figuring it was him. I listened to him chat on the machine for a while and then I answered it. He just called to see how I was and tell me he left a message on my machine. So again, Mr. Nurturer, just checking in.
Making sure she was okay after a tough emotional night.
Yes, because as we shared in our last video, there was a time I wasn't okay in the morning and I was going through tremendous amounts of trauma. Mm-hmm. So he's now making sure, are you okay?
Constantly, actually.
Yes. So then I wrote, he calls back about a half an hour later. He forgot some info that he needed for work, so he asked me to read it to him. Then he said he felt married to me. He said it was like calling home and saying, honey, I forgot this, can you help me? Wow. So again, here we are, only together a month. We're already feeling married to each other. We're already actually starting to talk about marriage, which is quite amazing after a month.
You know, and it was, in some ways it was joking about marriage, but at times it was actually fairly serious. Like, hey, we could see ourselves being there in the future. So it was in a teasing way and a sort of a poking, prodding.
Like, do you see this the same way I see it?
We were already starting to talk about that kind of stuff.
I didn't pull it out, but I actually have it somewhere in my journals of where we talked about 5 years down the road. We were talking about what we would do and where we would be, and like together we were already talking about that. So we were pretty serious even back then. So now I'm at the point of the story where I've come back from whitewater rafting and I've had to go to Edmonton, which is about 3 hours away from Calgary, where we were living and still live.
Now also, this isn't 2 weeks later either. You're going to Edmonton.
Yeah, I have to go to help my parents with some stuff.
And I have my parents living in St. Albert, which is just outside of Edmonton. And for whatever reason, I don't know whether I was being sneaky and devious or whether I had real things I needed to do, but I was going up to Edmonton to visit my parents as well.
So I ended up, I didn't even know this at the time, I called him since I was in Edmonton on his way old cell phone that, you know.
The old brick.
Yeah, the big old thing. And found out that he's in Edmonton. Not only did I find out he's in Edmonton, I found out he's a block away from where I am at the moment.
I was visiting my godparents who lived in North Edmonton, which is just not far from where my parents live, about a 20-minute drive. My parents lived north and west of Edmonton. So where Angie was staying was close to my godparents' place, and we were going visiting to my godparents.
So we get this bright idea that, hey, why don't I come pick you up and you can meet my people?
Yes, so I go pick her up.
We're both nervous about this because his parents don't even know about me yet, and I'm not ready to meet a whole pile of people. But, of course, we've missed each other so much that even in our not 2 weeks of being apart, we're just like, okay, we have to see each other. So this is what I wrote. Oh, where am I here? My God, was I freaked. I was meeting his parents and godparents on the same night. Nerve-wracking or what? Yeah, it was. Especially since his parents knew nothing of me. They didn't even know Rob was seeing someone. Bad situation. Well, we made the best of it. I sat and chatted with the women while he went to play pool with the guys downstairs. It wasn't that bad, actually. I just felt bad for Rob's parents. They've been through so many girlfriends that they probably aren't interested in getting to know me and bonding with me, unless they know I'll be sticking around. So that evening, we left at midnight, but I had no idea what the plan was. I felt very uncomfortable getting into Rob's parents' vehicle, especially since Rob was driving, so I was sitting in the front with him while his parents were sitting in the back. The three of us, his parents and me, were under the impression that Rob would be driving me to my place. This was my parents' place.
Okay, and of course that's in South Edmonton.
Yes. Nope. He starts going towards St. Albert. His dad says, guessing by the direction of travel, I'd say that we're going to our place. And this is completely how his dad talked. Rob talks the same funny way. It's hilarious.
Like father, like son.
Very much so. I was so uncomfortable and not impressed. I was freaked out by meeting his family, and now I was going to their house? Yikes. So we get to St. Albert. Rob pulls up in their driveway and shuts off the ignition and says,
Angie is staying way over on the other side of town. I wonder if you'd be okay or mind if I kept her for the night.
And that's exactly what he said, if I kept her for the night. It was actually quite sweet, even though I'm like, oh my God.
I was nerve-wracked because, of course, my parents just met this girl, and now I'm asking them, can we hide out in your basement for the night? Like, I'm partially dying inside. I didn't know what I'd get for an answer.
Speaking of dying inside, that's what I wrote. I nearly died. I wasn't ready to be sleeping at his parents' house. It all felt way too premature. His dad said yes to Rob's request, so off we went into their house, terrified, and I was not impressed with Rob. I did, however, feel good knowing how much he missed me. So you can imagine, I mean, what's his dad supposed to say? No? So yeah. It was kind of all like...
I put everybody in the spot, and sometimes I don't think things like that through very well. Sometimes even, 20 years later, I don't think everything through really well either, but that's future stories.
So I wrote, the next morning, Rob's parents started to warm up to me. I was very surprised at that, actually, because of how this all kind of came about. So, of course, I was telling them, why I was in the city. I had just gone whitewater rafting, and now I was going to visit my parents and help them with some things. So they started telling me all about their whitewater rafting trip in the Grand Canyon. And I wrote, I got all excited because that's on my wish list. So I told them all about my list. And the conversation was going well. I was feeling really comfortable and very much like I belonged there. So isn't that odd? Just overnight. I mean, the first night I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And now all of a sudden I feel like I belong? Wow, what a shift. I kept looking at his parents and picturing them as my in-laws. I could see it. So again, we're back to this whole, we're seeing ourselves married already. Interesting. His parents even have the kind of marriage I've always wanted. Very loving. They've been married for 36 years and are still in love and still touch and cuddle. And they were like that.
Oh, their entire marriage, they were very close, very loving, and any time that there was any conflict, it was looked after very mutually. They were very, very good at getting past rough spots. It's something that I always wished I could aspire to. They were role models from that point of view.
Very much so. So just still on the topic of being at Rob's parents, I just wrote a little extra piece that I want to read because it kind of fits with things later. I wrote, ain't love grand? I was so amazed with us at his parents' place. We probably slept a maximum of 3 hours. Talked till 4 a.m. Crazy fools.
That's us talking again.
Again, yes. Nope. We are getting no sleep because all we do is talk. And of course, if we haven't seen each other for a week and a half, you can bet we got lots of stories to share. So then, where are we at from here? Oh yes, so now this is September 9th of 1997. Rob's just about to go on a work trip. So I wrote a little bit about that and kind of what transpires from that. So I wrote, Rob left this morning at 6 a.m. and won't be back until 11 p.m. on Thursday. This was a Tuesday that he was leaving on, so just a couple days. He's in Vancouver for a computer seminar course. I miss him already. So again, I mean, that typical twin flame draw to each other where when one of you is gone, you feel like a piece of you is gone because your energy merges. That's what we were feeling, that missing of each other. I wrote, though, one positive of having him gone is that I'll catch up on sleep. We've been talking so much that I'm not sleeping and I'm starting to get bitchy. And boy, was I ever, because I was exhausted. And as we shared in our last video, being a highly sensitive person, overstimulation, it's very draining, and as a highly sensitive person, we need a lot of sleep. And I wasn't getting normal sleep, let alone a lot of sleep. I was getting no sleep. So this is just a funny little anecdote of when Rob comes back from his trip. I wrote, it's funny, Thursday night I decided to spontaneously meet Rob at the airport. So I'm there waiting for him when I hear my name being paged. I go to the info to find out that Rob's already at home. He took an earlier flight, so here I went to surprise him by meeting him, and he tried to surprise me by coming home early. It was really kind of funny. So again, that missing of each other. It was just...
Sure, we're both trying to surprise each other. I'm not the only nurturer in this relationship.
No,
Angie can do that too.
Absolutely.
She likes to throw funny little surprises out there too for me and surprise me with various bits. And that was one time where it didn't work. Yep, I came home early. She went to the airport on time. We probably passed right on the freeway going opposite directions.
Yeah, we were both missing each other and just so wanted to see each other. So we'd both done a surprise thing and they both backfired. But it was funny. It's still something we laugh about. So then I wrote, the next day I was tired and cranky. We get home. We'd gone out late with friends. So, of course, you can imagine he's just come home from a trip. We've talked all night long again, got no sleep, and now we're going out with friends. So I'm way overstimulated again. So now I'm tired and I'm cranky. So I wrote, poor Rob. He wanted to play and I wanted to sleep. Now, share them what your idea of play was that night.
Well, the coach story, I'm guessing.
No, this is the
the
walking.
Yeah, we're chatting away, and I can't remember what caused this portion of the conversation.
Rob's funny brain.
But I'm thinking, it's important to know where you are in the mountains and what directions are. So I just threw out a question to her. I said, if you're walking southwest, what direction is your right arm facing?
And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm half asleep. This is the last thing in the world I want to think of. I'm like, I don't know, and I don't care, and I don't want to think of it. I just want to go to sleep.
Of course, I'm thinking it's just an easy 90 degrees further around the compass answer, and all of a sudden I'm in trouble.
It was in big trouble. I'm just grumpy. So I said, I made it clear that I was tired and needed to sleep. So what does Rob do? He lets me sleep. So he finally surrenders and go, okay, she's not in play mode.
Yeah.
My fun little anecdote, she's not ready to give me an answer. Fine. He lets me sleep. But 2 hours later, he's restless and doesn't want to wake me up. So he goes and sleeps out on the balcony.
Yeah, I open up the back balcony doors and take my 2 little sleeping bags and sneak out onto the balcony out in the open air and close the door so she can have some quiet and privacy, and I'm out on the balcony. It's not like the doghouse, but it is not in the same room.
That's true. I never thought of it that way. So I wrote, I woke up and found him not beside me. So I went looking for him. I start panicking because I can't find him. I mean, we live in tiny little apartments, so it's not like his apartment's that big. He's got a living room, a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen. Like, where is he going to be hiding? It's like, where the hell did he go? So then I saw something moving outside. Sure enough, it's Robert. Poor guy, I scared him outside. So I'm getting a realization that, oh man, I guess I'm really bitchy. I'm really quite cranky to this poor sweet guy that just wants to play, and he's just being sweet and nice, and I'm being all grumpy. So then I felt really kind of bad. Why we're sharing some of these anecdotes, and we have a few more we're going to share, but just to reiterate, the next video, both of our personalities start to change a bit. So it's kind of interesting for you to see where we were, where Rob was. He was really playful. He was fun, jovial. We were just goofy a lot.
Another thing that I did, and now it's time for the couch story.
Yeah. Now you can tell the couch story.
I had a hide-a-bed type couch, so all the cushions on the couch were sewn onto the couch, and it would just flop open so that you could pull out the hide-a-bed. Well, one day we were on the couch, and we had a little mini blanket out on the couch that we could snuggle under the blanket. And I don't know what Angie did. I think maybe she got up to go to the washroom or something.
Yeah.
And I moved the cushions aside, just up a little bit, and I got right up against the back of the couch, and then I pulled all the cushions back into place, and then I pulled the blanket over top of where the cushions were, and I was gone. I was
completely hidden.
I was in the couch with the head of the mattress. I was in the structure.
So I come out of the bathroom and I can't find him again. I can't find him in this wee little apartment.
I keep disappearing.
Which actually I never ever thought about this before, but isn't that interesting? Like, it's kind of a good little sign of what happens in the future. You disappear and our lives change. So here I am searching for this man. He's gone again in the couch. And
so she's like, "Where are you? Where are you?" And eventually she says, "Are you on the couch?" Of course, then I had to crawl my way back out of it. All was good. That's the kind of fun I have.
Yeah.
A little hide-and-go seek once in a while.
Yeah.
Why not?
And then we used to have fun. We'd stand on our balconies because we both lived on the apartment tower facing the same side, on the west side. So we'd stand on our balconies and look down and up at each other and be on our phones and wave at each other.
Jared, hi, way down there.
We just had fun things that we did.
Yeah.
And the other one is the airport.
Oh, I would go to the airport with Ange to watch airplanes. A lot of couples go to the airport for other purposes, parking beside the buildings. No, I'd actually go to the airport and actually want to watch airplanes and talk some more. I think a lot of this talking is all my fault.
Yes.
But
yes.
And just spend some time together. And I've always loved airplanes, so I would chat about some of the airplanes as they'd come by if I knew anything about them. And it's just good, fun times out there, kind of on our own, or maybe another airport enthusiast would come by, and sometimes I'd ignore them. Other times I'd go out and chat with them too, and then come back to Angie 5 minutes later.
Yeah, and what's another one? Oh, trains, because you love trains too. So we used to go play on the train tracks.
Yeah, we would jump on our bikes and go out to where the train tracks would be entering into the edge of the city, and we'd ride on the train tracks and sometimes walk on the train tracks if we didn't have our bikes with us, if we'd driven out there.
Put a penny on them. You remember we used to do that?
Yeah, to throw pennies or coins on the tracks and let the trains run over them, and then try to find all these coins lost and squished and stuck to the wheels of a train somewhere. Or maybe they were just right basically where we left them. All good fun times. Playful, young kid kind of stuff.
Yes.
Inner child kind of stuff.
I was just going to say, our inner childs were very active at that point. We were doing a lot of playing, even though I was, still going through my own stuff of inner child being triggered by past issues. We had a lot of fun. We were laughing a lot. We were jovial. We were playing.
And the only time I never got any tense is when I took too much sleep away from her by chatting too much.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not as if she wasn't in the conversation too, though. Slightly defending myself.
Yeah, I can talk too if I have to.
So
I think that's about it for this video. We just wanted to share some of the little stories because a lot of them come up later. Again, just to kind of explain where things shift in the next video. There's a lot of shifts that happen in the next video.
Yeah, the next video, I'm kind of not looking forward to doing some of the reading ahead on it, because I'm gonna have to relive some of these things that I really kind of wanted to forget. But anyway, yeah, things start to change a little bit next time around.
Yes. So for now, we will leave you with our, it looks like stormy clouds behind us. It was beautiful when we took the dog for a walk earlier, and now it's getting all windy. So time for us to go, I guess. So remember to connect with your twin. Always go within, because you are one. And we'll leave you with that, and we'll say goodbye.
Have a good week.
Yes.